Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about the guys up front along that defensive line. They lose Thurman Gaithers to graduation, Kieran Crawford over to Auburn, but they do return Nate Marty, who led them in sacks last year, as well as Tim Hardiman and others. How did the defensive line look in the spring?
It looked different than it's going to look this fall, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Kieran Crawford went through probably about 2/3 maybe of spring camp before he transferred. Same thing for Denard Flowers, who was getting a lot of snaps at defensive end. Nate Marty did not participate in spring at defensive tackle because he was injured. Also, another key contributor at defensive end, Ethan Hassler, did not participate this spring because he was injured. So I don't know what this defensive line is going to look like. I think when it got time for the spring game, looking at the guys who were out there, I think you had Brian Whitehead, a defensive end transfer from Liberty that they're really excited about. They liked what he was doing by the end of spring camp. Ethan Hassler is going to be back this fall, and he was a big contributor when he was healthy. He started the season starting at defensive end. Got beat up. That's when Gathers came in. He played incredibly well. So Hassler backed him up towards the end of the season. And then at the interior, I'm excited to see what Tim Hardiman's going to do. A lot of the guys at the interior are new in terms of you've got Micaiah Overton, you've got Lucas Banks. Blaine Tola is a guy who came in as a defensive end, but late at the end of last year, they moved him to the interior. So he's still getting comfortable and settled in there. And there's a lot of new names and numbers and faces on this defensive line right now.
Is there anyone that, with the graduation of Thurman, anyone that can kind of help Crawford, or Thurman and Crawford, I guess you lost both of those guys. Mm-hmm. They were the top guys in terms of generating pressure on the quarterback. Who would you kind of expect other than Nate Marty? Who did you kind of expect to kind of fill that void there in terms of getting to the quarterback?
Well, I do think a healthy Ethan Hassler is going to be able to help fill that role. And then just looking at some of the new guys, again, still learning about Brian Whitehead, but I know that's one of the reasons they brought him in there at the end to help with the pass rush, and they actually brought in several guys at defensive end, Noah Collins, Drew Collins as well. But I'm hoping that, Brian Whitehead and Ethan Hassler can be the guys that help pick up statistically with those departures.
The linebacking group brings back its leading tackler from 2023 in Charlo Willikis. However, they did take some hits, losing Malik Straker to graduation and breakout freshman Javante Mackey to Memphis. How did that linebacking group look in the spring?
I think this is going to be a solid group. Willikis is a team leader. He is a quarterback of the defense. This is his third year at Arkansas State. He's settled. He's comfortable. He knows what the expectations are. He knows how to communicate with his teammates and lead the defense. One guy that I'm really excited to hopefully see coming up this fall is Dane Motley. Dane Motley has actually been in the program since 2019. He signed with Arkansas State under previous head coach Blake Anderson. He's had some opportunities, and then he's played some. He's been a bench guy some, but he got an opportunity in the bowl game with the departure of Javonte Mackey. I feel like he played well. He was the number one guy at the will spot for the entire spring, and I feel like he was solid there. So I like this storyline with Dane Motley. You're the longest tenured guy in the program. You're playing in your 6th season, and you got a chance to go out on top and just seize the opportunity after a departure there. So I like Motley. Willikis is solid. I'm really interested to see what happens at that star position, that hybrid linebacker safety spot, because while Jordan Sample was the guy for most of the spring, there could be a position change in play there with really talented safety Justin Parks moving over and playing some of that star position. He was out for the spring, so we didn't get to see it in action.
So the defensive backfield returns another top tackler and safety, Trevion Thomas, as well as Justin Parks and Justin Hodges. However, they lost some great cornerbacks to graduation, Sammy Johnson and Leon Jones. How did the defensive backfield look in the spring?
Injured again, and I'm sorry to keep throwing that out there. And we did get to see at the very beginning of camp, and we'll start with the corners. We did get to see Justin Hodges, who started last year, play a little bit. We got to see Jordan Mahoney play a little bit at the beginning of spring, and Mahoney is a UMass transfer that A-State actually faced in week 3 or 4, somewhere in there at the beginning of the season. But they liked him, scooped him up from the Minutemen, and unfortunately, both Hodges and Mahoney, probably the back half of spring, weren't in action very much at all. Nothing significant. I think some hammies. If it's the regular season, those guys probably play, but it's spring, so they didn't. So we didn't get to see a whole lot of those guys in action in terms of the live work. Now, we did get to see a little bit of depth. Dante Joyner is a guy that they liked a whole lot last year, played a little bit as a true freshman. So he'll be back in the mix there as well. And Coastal Carolina transfer Manny Stokes was out there quite a bit this spring at safety. Again, Justin Parks missed the entire spring. And I don't know how much he'll be at safety, because Coach Jones also really likes him at star, but it doesn't sound like there's anything necessarily 100% decided with Parks' future, because it depends on the guys around him. You don't want to throw him into the mix at star and then significantly weaken your secondary. So it just kind of depends on that group. At safety with Parks out, we saw James Reed III step up this spring. I feel like he played well. You had Brandon Grill, apologies, that was in the mix as well. Websley Etienne, who has been a significant contributor on special teams, will probably take some more reps at safety this year. I think he's ready for a step up there. So I think you got a little bit of depth there, but Sammy Johnson was like the man. He had been at A-State for a minute. And so when you lose a senior like that, who is a leader and who is very good at what he does, it is a bit of a question who's going to step up and kind of lead that unit.
All right. If you had to pick a defensive player to have a breakout type season in 2024, who do you got there?
I think I'm trying to manifest it. I really, I like the storyline with Dane Motley being a guy who originally signed with Arkansas State. I'm pretty sure in 2019, because I'm pretty sure it was like the regular redshirt year and then the COVID year. And then, so he's going to have another year. And obviously there's a real opportunity here for him to make the most of it and perhaps be the starter there at that will spot and go out with a lot of playing time and being a contributor to a team that I think is going to be able to take a big step this year. There are definitely more questions on defense than offense with all of the new faces there. But again, he's got a lot of experience. If 6-year senior, he's got the capabilities, he's got the knowledge to be a team leader. So I want it to be Dane Motley.